Hey, I'm Bo Kotecha, and I'm the co-founder of Paxos Labs, and you're watching Taking Stock.
A bit of a mixed session here on Wall Street as we officially kick off, somehow impossibly, I know, the final few trading days for the month of September. How did that happen? Welcome to the show, one and all. This is Taking Stock. I am your host on this beautiful Monday afternoon here live on Wall Street, JD Durkin. We are just moments away, and I do mean just moments, my friends, from the ringing of the one, the only, the truly iconic closing bell right here at the New York Stock Exchange. Similarly iconic as the great Peter Tuchman. He'll be joining us here in just a bit. He's on deck, talk about everything he's seen going on with the markets today, overall volume, which sets a stage for a very busy and a very consequential week of lots of data points for investors to digest. Of course, we got that ADP private payrolls print on Wednesday, initial jobless claims on Thursday, and at least for now, the working assumption is we will get September jobs. But according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they say if we do in fact have a federal government shutdown tomorrow night at midnight, we may not end up getting that crucial jobs report on Friday morning. Negotiations continue down on Capitol Hill with the eyes of the financial world very closely paying attention. Give you a sense of the tail of the tape we are expecting here into the close. The leading sectors for the S&P 500 today include tech, telecom, and financials, while the broader energy sector sell-off continues. We'll talk much more about energy stocks coming up here in just a bit. But for now, my friends, the team from Yalla is down here on the trading floor of the NYSE, and they are set to do the honors. There it is, the broader financial markets taking their cues from the New York Football Giants with a winning session here on Wall Street today. Josh, I had to work that one in. The tail of the tape at this hour on this trading Monday, the S&P 500 finishing up in positive territory, about 1/4%. The Dow holding on to fractional gains. The New York Stock Exchange composite a comparable story, while the small caps, wow, holding on to 0.04% of a gain on the day. Let's bring in Peter Tuchman, the Einstein of Wall Street here, senior floor trader at TradeMoss, to give us his perspective to the kickoff of a huge week here on Wall Street. How you doing, my man? What'd you see in the markets today?
You know, spectacular. We ended up having a huge buy program today. Almost $4 billion came in to buy, probably between 2:30 and 3 o'clock, and that's significant. I mean, for people to be, that's real money coming into the market. And so, you know, we've talked about it before, that there's obviously a lot of catch-up being played coming into the end of this quarter. There are a lot of the bigger funds, institutions who are under-invested in this market coming into this time. They're going to be graded for how they ended up doing in this quarter. We're trading at record highs across the board for weeks and weeks now, right? And so to see such a huge buy program with a market trading at record highs, it shows good faith and confidence in the market, for one. It shows that there's obviously some people who are underinvested and are having to get into the market at this late stage in the game. It is what is supporting this spectacular rally, somewhat irrational at times, and big week on Wall Street.
Yeah, we talk a lot about the so-called September seasonality effect, and yet no one really told the markets. The S&P is right now up month to date about 3%. The NASDAQ composites leading the way 5%. Was there any sense that maybe this is going to be a little bit different relative to how weak this time of the year traditionally is for stocks?
You know what? I think we need to reevaluate a lot of the terminology we use, right? Bull market, bear market, those things are not as relevant as they were at one point, and seasonality per se, right? Because there's so many components in a market that's got, you know, as I've said to you many times, 2025 has been a year where the market has seen absolutely every possible thing happen to it, from the high highs, low lows, across the board, massive record closes, 28, 29 of them, right, already, record closes, as well as wars and tariffs and all these other things. So to think that seasonality is going to have a factor, play a role in that, I think it's not happening anymore.
Yeah, like I said at the top of the broadcast, usually we'd be setting the stage for Friday morning's jobs print, but now we have a looming federal government shutdown, with the Bureau of Labor Statistics saying if we have that funding gap, we may not get a jobs print at all for Friday morning. What do you look for the shutdown?
You know what, look, we've seen this has been a hovering threat over and over, year after year. It never ends up happening. I don't know if it's maybe happened once or twice. It always kind of, we take it to the final witching hour and then a deal is made. I think the market is saying, you know what, we're going to feel that, we're going to do that again this time. We're not seeing, there's absolutely nothing, it feels like right now, that market could be smacked with. That's, whether it's fear, anxiety, whether it's a possible government shutdown, whether it's tariff deals that are not the greatest in the world. The market's not responding negatively to anything, right? Or, even the economic data that's come in over the last couple of weeks, which has shown a lot of weakness in the economy, and the interest rate cut, 25 basis points only, which should have just kind of evened out where we're at, and the market continues to go. For us to see today, 2 days before the end of the quarter, $3.5 to $4 billion come in to buy on the close, real dollars, real money being put to work, still at this stage of the game where the market is extraordinary.
Yeah, and I love that context from you, because you and you alone give us that as we get right into the close. You can see the order flows that come in the way that we can, and there's no better way to kick off the broadcast than chatting with you.
And
Peter
it's significant.
Tuchman.
It's really what is in the nooks and crannies of the market. That's important to know, as well as advances versus declines. You know, those are the funny little things that 137 years of experience that I have can give you to this. Gives you that little bit of insight.
Look, no more than a few days worth of experience, my man. Peter Tuchman, thank you for joining us
Always
as always.
a pleasure.
Great to have you.
Happy trading.
Josh, I'm going to hand that over to you. Howie, you and I are going to go for a walk this way. Pardon us, folks. We're going to squeeze right through here. I'm going to, in a moment, talk about a few NYSE notable companies. But first of all, since Peter Tuchman and I were chatting about potential federal government shutdowns, I'm going to bring you a great analyst note. This comes from my friend Callie Cox at Ritholtz Wealth Management. She always does a great job crushing the numbers. She looks all the way back at government shutdowns dating back to 1981. She says, we've had 10 of them. They average 9 days. Remember, a lapse in federal government could just be a few hours. It could be a few weeks. They average out to 9 days. And according to Callie Cox, 5 of those 10 shutdowns have resulted in sharp drops in consumer confidence. We get a new consumer confidence reading tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. How we would take a look at least one NYSE notable company here. This is Nike. Shares up fractionally on the day, about 0.3%. This sets the stage for Nike's third quarter earnings call we get tomorrow at the close. It is trading on the low end of its 5-year range. The stock is still off its all-time highs of 2021 by about 60% and is down 9% month to date. We'll certainly be paying attention to the tariff-related headlines and storylines in that earnings call. And that brings us here to the energy sell-off. How we're going to move to the next one here. This is ETF XLE. The most weighted names in this particular ETF include ExxonMobil, Chevron, and ConocoPhillips, all seeing a big drop in the day as we saw that drop in Brent and WTI after OPEC Plus announced its increase in oil output. All right, folks, moving along with the show at this hour. Cheddar's very own Justine Miller caught up one-on-one with Delta's Chief Sustainability Officer, Amelia DeLuca, at the Fast Company Innovation Festival earlier this month. Take a look.
With a 17-year career at Delta Airlines, pushing the boundaries of operational innovation, we're joined now with Amelia DeLuca, who leads the airline's journey to net zero emissions by 2050. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. And we have a few questions for you. First of all, we want to know, can you describe for us the key milestones that Delta has set on the path to net zero by 2050, and also how your role drives those objectives?
Yep, absolutely. Well, just quickly, 90% of our footprint on the planet comes from jet fuel. So you're going to hear me talk a lot about the jet fuel milestones. But broadly, it's in 3 phases. Do what you can do today to save jet fuel and how you operate. The second phase is innovate the conventional jet fuel space to move into a biofuel space that has less carbon emissions per gallon of jet fuel. And then the third one is to look towards revolutionary fleet technology to bring the aircraft of the future that also uses less jet fuel.
And all of that, makes sense. We want to know what specific operational changes Delta has implemented recently to improve fuel efficiency, reduce emissions, and where you've had the biggest gains in that, because obviously that's a big goal with a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, well, it's actually been a fantastic year for us. 2025 was our first year that we had a climate target. So it was our short-term climate target, and it was to save 45 million gallons of jet fuel from our operational efficiencies. We're on track to actually save 60 million by the end of the year, $150 million. So good for business, good for the planet. And we've done it through a number of ways. One, any weight you can get off the aircraft just immediately saves on jet fuel. And so we always want to make sure all of our customers have their drink of choice, but we don't want to over provision. So we've been using AI camera technology to better provision on board. A second thing is when you cool the aircraft at the gate, you can do it with a really inefficient small engine on the back of the plane, or you can look towards ground power. And all of our airport partners now are providing really adequate ground power, often from renewable sources. So that's a better way to cool the aircraft and use less jet fuel. And then finally, when you're in the air, just like when you're in your car, right, the more direct you can go with the right speed, you can save a lot of fuel. And so again, we're looking towards the automotive industry. We're looking and leveraging AI technology to save jet fuel every day.
That's amazing. That's so many different efforts you guys are
Yeah.
doing. What do you think sets Delta apart from all the other airlines when it comes to sustainability?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't say that all of those major milestones were because of the 100,000 people that work at Delta. So my team is a small team. We sit at the Nexus, try to make sure that our teams have what they need to be successful. But then every single day, our team sets out to provide an on-time premium experience and a sustainable experience. And so whether it is on board through our new paper cups, or again, how we are operating as fuel efficiently as possible, it's the 100,000 people at Delta that have brought us. This is our centennial year, so we're celebrating 100 years with our 100,000 employees, and we look forward to 100 years to come.
That's awesome. And how do you balance the pressure of trying to achieve all of these goals when you also have costs, regulation, customer demands in such a kind of industry that's heavy like aviation?
Yeah. I think the thing is you have to remind yourself as a company what's our value set. And so for Delta, it's always been, if you take care of your employees, they'll take care of our customers, they'll take care of the bottom line. We know that the people we care about, both employees and customers, care about this topic. So one, it's an expectation now. Any premium brand is also expected to be sustainable. It's that and. It's not the or, it's the and. That's the first. The second thing is it's good for business, right? What we're doing is saving money to Delta's bottom line every single day. And then I think the third part, which has been our motto this year, is just control what you can control, right? We're not going to solve this existential crisis overnight, but every single day we want to make sure we're making progress in a way that makes us feel proud as a company.
Let's do it, folks. Welcome back to the broadcast. This is Taking Stock. Time now for the latest in the worlds of fintech, crypto, and AI-related headlines. First up, all of the crypto majors, Solana, ETH, Bitcoin, you name it, up between 1% and 2% on the day. And that crypto-related price action comes after a week in which crypto investment products saw more than $800 million in outflows, driven by stronger macro data, easing some expectations of rate cuts. Despite this, giant treasury players like Strategy, now holding 640,000 Bitcoin, are still aggressively expanding their stash. Paul Graywall joins the show now. Paul is Chief Legal Officer at Coinbase. It's great to have you here. Welcome to the New York Stock Exchange. Welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Can you talk to me first and foremost about Coinbase's new advocacy campaign? What should people know, Paul, and why is now the right time for it?
Now's the right time because the fact of the matter is that we've made tremendous gains in crypto. The passage of the Genius Act providing for a structure for stablecoin legislation in the U.S. was a watershed moment. But unfortunately, the big banks are looking to claw back perhaps the most important benefit for consumers, which is their right to rewards from the crypto that they own. We think that's a mistake. We think that's a step backwards, and we're hopeful that Congress is going to see that.
You mentioned the Stable Act, you mentioned the roles, the responsibilities of Congress. In what ways have you seen the regulatory pathways clear up that much more so far in 2025? And I'd imagine it's also largely part of your job to sort of anticipate what the next few years of regulatory changes look like. What's on your radar?
Well, look, 2025 has been an incredible year for crypto and frankly for the crypto user and crypto consumer. We've finally seen legislation passed here in the U.S. that provides basic rules for crypto that allow people to have confidence in the market and understand what they're getting and what they're investing in. Unfortunately, the work is not done and Congress needs to finish the job. That's why, even though we're so excited about the progress made on stablecoins, we really need to see a market structure bill passed by the Senate, like the House did earlier this year, on a bipartisan basis, and ultimately signed by the president.
Do you have confidence you have that type of bipartisan support? It's been fascinating to watch both Democrats and Republicans on Capitol Hill. They don't agree on much. We got a potential shutdown happening in the hallways of Congress tomorrow night. But on the issue of crypto, it seems like there's a fair bit of overlap.
Well, we are quite proud that we've been able to bring Washington together on a bipartisan basis. We are confident that Congress can pass the Clarity Act on market structure, or the version of it in the Senate, that provides for basic rules on what's a securities transaction, what's a commodities transaction, and who has authority to regulate these markets. The fact that 78 Democrats joined almost every Republican in the House tells us that we can achieve similar results in the Senate if there's just the will to act. We think there will be.
Yeah, do you have confidence that you at least have an SEC as a regulatory body that now more clearly, maybe than in a way Gary Gensler respectfully could not or would not clearly define what is a security and what is a commodity?
Well, the contrast between the former chair and current chairman Paul Atkins could not be more stark. The current SEC leadership has done an incredible job with its crypto task force and with its swift movement to get rules into place to finally settle this market in a way that catches the U.S. up to the rest of the world. The U.S. has been behind now for several years, but it's great to see this country finally assert its leadership in a way that we think will be quite beneficial for the crypto user and consumer.
Can you help paint the picture a bit? How different is the regulatory landscape here in the United States versus the one that a lot of U.S. investors hear about, which is a whole different set of rules of the road in the UK?
Well, the UK is also, I think, struggling to catch up with the rest of the world. There's no question about it. And while the US was similarly far behind just a few short months ago, I think we've now seen here in the United States that countries, nations, regulators can close that gap if there is a will to act. What the UK, I think, ultimately will do is what the SEC has done, is to recognize that whether you love crypto, hate crypto, or feel something else altogether about crypto, it's important for there to be sensible rules so that people understand what they're getting and what rights they have. I think the UK is going to finally figure that out.
Paul, before I let you go, what sort of advice, guidance would you give even to retail investors? They're out there, they want to not only add crypto to their portfolios, they want to better understand the legal challenges of the regulatory framework. What would you most want that investor to know as he or she begins his or her journey?
Well, I think what we most want to see is the crypto investor become the crypto voter. And we've already seen great progress on that in the last election. Look, millions and millions, now 52 million Americans or more, now have owned a digital asset of one type or one stripe, and many of those millions have converted to crypto voters in who they elect to the Congress and who to ultimately select as president. We think that being active in this debate, lending your voice to the conversation taking place in Washington, and making it clear to your elected officials that you want to see change is the most important thing anyone can do.
Paul Grewal is the Chief Legal Officer at Coinbase, and I am very grateful that he was able to join the broadcast today. Thanks a lot for joining us. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Folks, don't go anywhere. Much more Taking Stock live from the NYSE coming up right after this, including the latest on startups, raises, and rounds, and an interview you do not want to miss with the CEO of Yalla, Tao Yang. Much more show coming up after this. Welcome back to Taking Stock. Today we bring you the latest in the worlds of startups, raises, and rounds at this hour. First up, video game maker Electronic Arts. Hello, this is a huge one, folks. Going private. It's a deal worth more than $50 billion. Yeah, that's billion with a B. It's the biggest leveraged buyout in history. It's backed by Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund and Silver Lake. Next up at this hour, Amsterdam-based Polars. It's an open source data tool built to outrun pandas. Has raised $21 million, led by Excel in a Series A round. And finally, Manny Medina's new startup Paid, raising more than $21 million to power results-based billing for AI agents in a seed round led by Lightspeed Venture Partners. Now at this hour of the broadcast, we want to bring you the latest from Money 2020's very own Chief Strategy Officer Scarlett Sieber. Take a look. More Taking Stock on the other side.
Welcome back. I am Scarlett Sieber from Money 2020, and we have another episode of Everything is FinTech, because everything is FinTech. Right, Zach? You're with me today.
That's my answer to everything.
So, in case you haven't seen, Everything is FinTech is our weekly series where we pull random names out of this cup. These are companies who are listed at this beautiful venue, the New York Stock Exchange, and we are going to have 30 seconds. We'll go back and forth, round robin of sorts. You got to tell me in 30 seconds why this company is actually a FinTech company.
Okay.
You got the rules?
I got them.
You keep it up with the game?
Game.
All right. With our first one, let's go, Zachary.
Moment of truth here, folks. All right. United Airlines.
United Airlines, 30 seconds.
That's pretty straightforward. United Airlines has a co-branded card, I know, with Chase and I want to say Visa, and most of their revenue actually comes, like most airlines, comes as a result of their loyalty program, as a result of their actual credit card offering, and that's why every time you sit on a plane, they're just trying to sell you a credit card more than they're trying to get you safely on the ground.
I didn't have to beat you. You got that in 23 seconds out here. Impressive.
I mean, we've
Are
been
you a
doing this a
United
few.
flyer?
I'm a Delta flyer.
I'm an American flyer. However, United, I do like my 1K on United. I have had 1K in the past. It's a pretty cool thing.
Wait, I didn't know what that is.
This highest status, well, the highest, it's a good status.
Okay.
So
So
like,
it's like not quite Delta 360 that you have to like be invited into.
correct, the one right below that, but it's still really nice. And I gotta say, I've had some great flights on there. You know that we got the COO of the United.
Yeah, they're speaking at the show.
They're speaking at Money 2020, so we got to do some kicking.
Maybe I will be a United person by November.
Switch it up.
Yeah, maybe I'm not flying Delta home. I'm flying United home.
All right. You want to give me one?
Let's put Scarlett on the hot spot. Okay, here we go.
Yum brands.
Yummy.
The ones who do Taco Bell, KFC, etc. Well, first and foremost, are you going to time me?
It's already started.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so why is it? Well, first of all, most important, Taco Bell is my love. People used to call me, my Disney princess name is Taco Bell. Number one. Taking the time for this because I don't know the answer. Okay, so why Taco Bell? Why Taco Bell? Okay, the reason why it's Taco Bell is because, and why Yum is because, think about it. There is a whole thing about loyalty, about ordering ahead, about doing things that you've never done before. They have locations everywhere, and they actually encourage the ordering ahead and paying ahead because then they have special things you can go to.
Not bad.
Oh man, I got too distracted because I love Taco Bell and I'm hungry and I haven't had anything to eat yet.
Well, Disney princess name is Taco Bell.
My Disney princess name is Taco Bell with Belle, because I love Taco Bell.
Okay, so I can call you Mrs. Bell from now on.
Can I tell you something else about this? So when I was in high school, I didn't have a lot of cash, okay? And didn't come from a lot of cash. And I would go, now I got cash for days. So long story short, when I went to Taco Bell, I went there every day for lunch every day. Me and my best friend on Fridays twice, during lunch and after school. They tried to give me a job many times. I was already working 2 jobs in the waitress thing, you know, whatever else. This time they were like, no, like you could eat all the Taco Bell you want. You only have to work 2 days a week. I didn't do it, but I should have.
Well, you don't want to.
Unlimited Taco Bell.
What's the appropriate way to say this? You don't want to work where you eat. Work you could replace with a different word, but
Yeah.
does that make?
I think that's fine.
Take a piece of candy.
There we go. All right, and with that, that is this episode of Everything is FinTech. We will see you next week.
distinctive sound can elicit strong memories that last for hours or even a lifetime. Those following finance with their ear to the ground will readily recognize the sound of a tolling bell and a gavel strike as representing the close of global capital markets, a soundscape unique to the New York Stock Exchange. The New York Stock Exchange has been striking a gavel at the close of trading since 1817, first to signify the end of trading one single security, and today signifying the end of the entire trading day. Countless gavels have struck this exact same sounding block since 1890, which is before women had the vote, before the first manned flight, and even before sliced bread. This sounding block has witnessed countless stories, and here are just a few. The sounding block began its career during the Second Industrial Revolution. Steam power fueled progress. Railroads and canals connected the country, and Edison's light bulb filled America with a warm electric glow. Originally, from its perch upon the bell podium, the sounding block oversaw a seething mass of humanity in swallowtail coats and stovepipe hats, belting out the cacophonous din of open outcry trading. As the steam age raced ahead, heavy industries like railroads raced to list their securities, brokers raced to meet demand, and the New York Stock Exchange's first permanent home raced towards obsolescence. To make way for both broker and technology, the New York Stock Exchange's first permanent home was demolished in 1901 in order to make room for its current home. As brokers shed their Victorian garb in favor of double-breasted sports coats and bowler hats, the New York Stock Exchange christened its new home on April 22nd of 1903. The sounding block was placed upon the freshly hewn marble of the bell podium, where it has remained ever since. A decade later, World War I sent global financial markets spiraling into a panic. All foreign markets had closed as of July 30th of 1914, and the New York Stock Exchange quickly followed suit, closing the next day and beginning our longest ever closure. When America entered World War II 23 years later, the sounding block witnessed an even greater seismic shift. With nearly 1,000 members of the trading floor community off fighting for democracy, trading floor jobs were filled by women for the first time, starting in 1943. Those soldiers lucky enough to return came back to an America well equipped for growth, as increasing consumer demand, surging product development, and ample disposable income generated an economic boom and a bull market that lasted for 8 years. 2 decades later, the sounding block had a box seat view to the upheaval of the 1960s. As men shed their wool suits in favor of synthetic fabrics, the New York Stock Exchange shed its status as an all-boys club. Active in the securities industry since 1954, Muriel Siebert was attracted by the egalitarian nature of the trading floor, where a broker's compensation was determined by ability and not by gender. On December 28th of 1967, Siebert was admitted as the first woman to own a seat on the New York Stock Exchange. 3 years later, another barrier fell when Joseph Searles II became the exchange's first black member. Even before joining the New York Stock Exchange on February 12th of 1970, Searles had enjoyed an impressive career, playing professional football for the New York Giants, as well as acting as an aide to New York City Mayor John Lindsay. At the dawn of the information age, stock trading had remained mostly unchanged since the sounding block began its career in the 1890s. Each auction was held verbally, and to an outside observer, the floor appeared completely unaltered between 1929 and 1979. But in 1979, the view changed dramatically, with the installation of over 15,000 pounds of computer equipment, all supported by a massive superstructure at the top of the trading floor. The personnel working beneath continued to change their look with the times, swapping out their patterned polyester suits as the CRTs around them changed to flat screens. Today, the New York Stock Exchange runs the last stock trading floor, utilizing a hybrid trading model unique among its peers, utilizing electronic trading technology in tandem with the human element. And with an active trading floor, the sounding block remains in use and is struck at the end of every trading day. Without a pen, a sheet of paper would remain blank. Without nails, a house would fall to the ground. And without a sounding block, the strike of a gavel would be inaudible. This humble object has been struck at every closing ceremony for over 100 years, loyally serving one single purpose: to shepherd the global capital markets, the New York Stock Exchange.
Let's do it, folks. Welcome back to the broadcast. With our remaining moment or so, give you a quick preview of what to expect tomorrow here on Wall Street. As we talked about earlier in the show, after the bell tomorrow, we'll get those crucial Q3 quarterly earnings reports and information from the team over at Nike. Lots of Fed speak, consumer confidence from the conference board tomorrow at 10 a.m. And tonight on Monday Night Football, Jets and Dolphins. That's going to do it. We'll be back tomorrow at closing bell with a whole new show. This is Taking Stock. Have a good one. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Woo! Yeah! Woo! Hey!
Now you're a Giants fan?
I guess. I got you, bro.